we're all the same. We're not all the same.
We've got a question here from a devoted viewer. I think his name is Saner Passage. Don't remember. Anyway, it says, do our stories, myths, legends shape our value system?
Okay.
Great question. So let's do it.
It is a great question. I've heard that in mythology, it's always the warriors come from the north of a country, and the poets come from the poets from the south, the romantics from the west, or something or other.
Okay.
But the warriors always come from the north. That ties in with the Vikings coming from the north, and the north of Ireland being the most war-torn part of Ireland. So it stuck in my mind for that reason. And war stories. Maybe there are countries where, and a lot of the mythology in Ireland is about warriors, and do you know the story of Cuchulainn?
I've heard the name. It rings a bell, but I don't know this. I can't say.
Cuchulainn is a character from Irish mythology who is adopted by both sides in the sectarian conflict.
Okay.
The loyalists see him as a defender of Ulster from foreign Irish invasions from the south,
right?
And the nationalists and the Republicans admire him as a part of Irish folklore, but he was a mythological creature from the north who fought so hard on the battlefield. When he died, he sort of died in an upright position. The enemy was still afraid to approach until the crow landed on him, and then they said, okay, well, Cuchulainn is probably dead now.
Interesting.
But I think society probably creates mythology rather than mythology creates society. So war-torn countries will have stories of war and warlords, and we'll look up to them. And maybe peaceful societies will admire poets and lovers.
Are there peaceful societies? This is a good question, because I've encountered a few people that let's get into this. So, because I've encountered some people that are insistent that certain groups of people in the world would be, I don't know how to describe it, would be idyllic, or the people would be of a very peaceful and benevolent nature if it wasn't for the influence of outside corruptors. That would be me and you, by the way.
Okay, all right. The white man.
And I think that is a insane idea.
Are we talking the white man who corrupted the noble savage, and the Native Americans were a peaceful society who used every part of the animal when they prepared their food? And
it's one interpretation, but what I'm trying to say is that people are, like we talked about with the utopian thinking. It's like, well, everything would have been great if it wasn't for those guys who came and invaded our country, because we were the perfect people before then. It's this kind of mentality. I don't want to go too far from the line, though.
Rina?
Thanks.
Well, was India great before the Raj?
It's difficult to say, because like obviously when you have a society where we only know one truth, we only know one outcome of what happened, where for example India was obviously, British Raj came, taken over, and now we know the outcome of that. We don't know what would have happened if they didn't. We don't know whether it would have been the same path, a completely different path. But it's difficult.
It's all what if.
Yeah, completely.
But my argument is that human nature is human nature. Is that we are technically all the same. I mean, there's different ways of manifesting our natures, and we can value one more than another, which is the question, which is value structures, right? And I don't know how I can get into the mythology yet, but what I mean is that we all have good and bad points. All of our cultures have support things that other cultures would think can be abhorrent. We have mythological heroes that at their time were mass murderers.
Okay.
You understand? You know what I mean? So I don't believe that there's a culture of the world that is some perfect, benevolent, peaceful creature. They have our DNA, then they've got the same flaws. It's my argument.
But do some societies have it closer to being right than others?
Well, right. Yeah. What's right?
I think society gradually has got better and better.
Okay. Here.
Everywhere. There's been ups and downs along the way, but gradually we've advanced, and that's why we look back at the past and say, oh, wasn't it terrible that they did X, Y, and Z? And people will look back on us and say, oh, I can't believe they used to eat animals or whatever. Like Bina looks down on us for
I do
being
not look down on anybody.
Murderers. Okay,
Vegan
but
corner.
you're vegan. You probably think that one day that idea will become the consensus, right?
The more mainstream idea,
Yeah.
I hope so. For different reasons.
For what reason?
There's like, well, me personally went vegan for several reasons and not just one. And everyone seems to think that you go vegans for the animals. Like that's
For the social
one
props.
reason.
I don't love animals. I just hate plants.
Let's get this thing away.
Thanks, man. So,
But it's all, there's climate change, there's health reasons, there's...
My eyes narrowed. Sorry,
Okay.
with the climate change. But yeah, I know. I mean, it's true with the cows, for instance, for real.
The cows?
Oh well, yeah, the methane,
Yeah.
and well, there's many other things, deforestation and such.
Yeah, exactly.
so going back to the mythology, does it shape our society, or does the society shape the mythology?
Well, maybe another question to ask is, are oh god, I can't speak. Are our mythologies significantly different from each other? Maybe they're not. I think they're following the archetypes, like I told you. You said you studied psychology. You know about the archetypes?
No.
No.
Archetypes, no.
You didn't study Jung? Okay.
This was so long ago.
No, it doesn't matter.
Crash course.
It's true. I mean, if you ask me about
Oh
things.
yeah,
back-
young, yes.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Compliment to me now.
Anyway, so maybe they're all based on the same principles. So I would say that would be logical if we're all running on the same operating software of how to survive, how to reproduce, what to be scared of, what to go into. Our mythology is going to represent that. But are some cultures, you could say, do have different value structures. So how do those originate? That's maybe the question. I don't know.
But are they so different values though?
Possibly yes. For example, let's go into it. So you could say maybe there's flaws in this argument, but let's say the concept of being able to speak freely about any topic,
Okay.
because that's definitely not allowed in some places. So we could put that right there. The pursuit of the truth being valued above all others, rather than what's socially expedient.
Often in schools they will encourage the children to study and learn about British values.
I've got a facepalm on that one.
Okay. Well, I'll ask you why.
Just because it's so cringy.
Well, it's cringy and it's also vague. But what are the British values that are not universal? What does Britain hold to be valuable that other countries don't? And if there's nothing, then isn't it just values or world values, human values? Yeah, go on. Thank you. Brilliant. So how do you address it if it's a facepalm moment? for you?
It's just because it sounds so cringy. I mean,
Thank you.
my depth perception's not so good. There we go.
Worked out. And it's kind of vague. What
I
are
don't
British
know.
values? And we always talk about, it's tolerance, it's freedom of speech. Is it though?
No.
Okay.
No.
What are they?
Oh man, it's a difficult one. I had this conversation with IC3. It was like the first one I had with him.
Great.
And he's
Good
like, but
place to
what are
start.
British values? I'm like, bro, don't do this to me.
Yeah.
It's a really tricky question because what are values? Where do they come from? What does British mean? What is race? These are extremely difficult questions that can't be answered in a single statement, which people want, at least in the public spheres. They demand the answer, get the, no, bullshit. It's hard problems. But we can make progress. So, like I said about the freedom of speech one, there are limits to it in the society, of course, and there should be, because, like I said about anarchism, you can't relate to people without structure, and that includes what you can say, but it has to be very, very clear. I mean, like we talked about, also the incitement to violence. That's a clear one. Making direct threats. That's a clear one. Causing unnecessary panic. That's another one. Like the whole fire in a theatre, and
Freedom of speech.
hypothesis
Yeah.
example. I don't know what else to say. That you can write things here. I mean, there's the whole racism thing and then the religious thing that's coming these days. But you can write books about certain topics. You can make news articles. You can say certain things that are allowed and some are not. And I think we're losing our commitment to free speech here, very much so. And I think it's a bad thing. So that's a statement.
I tend to agree.
But is that freedom of speech, like what you're just saying, in mainstream? Or is that generally like with everyone?
What do you mean?
In terms of you feel like freedom of speech is maybe becoming a little bit more
Constrained.
a little bit more limited. But is that in mainstream or is that just generally?
Well, it's
everyone.
It's mainstream, of course, but it's also in it's going to be in groups with people you relate with, because like with this thing with this monkey baby tweet or whatever, that's going to affect somebody's group, and it's like, oh, you think that's okay? Well, you're not okay with me. Well, you think that's wrong? Why? You know, it's going to have effects tearing down.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
On the British value topic, I remember a phone call to a radio show, and the caller was a woman saying that her son wasn't allowed to fly the England flag in his school,
right,
or whatever. And she was of Irish heritage, although she had an English accent.
Right.
She said that people had no problem with her flying the Irish flag, and she was proud of her Irishness. But my boy, who's grown up in England, and she considers him English, and he might consider himself English.
I see.
He's not allowed to fly his English flag. And the presenter was saying, yeah, but the thing about the English is they're embarrassed about the fact that they're English, and that it's not an English trait to fly the English flag.
I think that's true.
I don't know. Well, I think the point he was getting at is the reason why people can fly the Irish flag and the English flag and all these other flags, and the Indian flag and the Pakistani flag, because they have been flying it in defiance of the English flag, and nationalism has been a rallying call for independence movements to free themselves from the English. The English have never had an Independence Day because they were the occupier or the colonizer, and I think English people should be allowed to fly their flag and should be proud of their flag, and I would encourage them to do so.
Right.
But I think there is a slight embarrassment about the colonial past.
Oh, okay, I can understand
that makes them
that
reluctant.
perspective.
Certainly the English middle class are reluctant to fly their flag, and also because the Union Jack and the English flag have been commandeered by the far right. Perhaps because
really,
what is there not that perception?
Well,
if you fly a British flag outside your house, people say, "What is he a BNP? Is Nick Griffin?"
Right. Okay. Maybe you're right.
Wrong,
maybe,
and I don't
that's
like
why
that. But yeah, I don't like that. That's the reality. But I think there is that perception, and I wish it would change.
Okay. I see.
What do you think, Bina? If your next door neighbour started flying the British flag,
I just
how
think
would you
they were
feel?
a football fan.
You would? Okay. Yeah, and during the World Cup, we do see the England flag.
It's true.
But if you're flying it at other times, there's a fine line between patriotism and nationalism.
Right. Interesting
I can
one.
see your point, because people will question, well, why are you flying the English flag rather than the British Union flag? So
That's true.
It's an interesting point that you raised, actually.
So
Never actually thought about it.
in all the public buildings in Scotland, they fly both. They have the Scottish one and the Union one.
Okay.
Whatever.
Fair enough.
I used to care about that stuff, and then I grew past it. I would say, past nationalism.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, on a slightly different topic, but with a parallel. So a friend of mine, Muslim guy, shared. It's relevant. I think it is. Shared a post about like this. If you agree that gay people are allowed to say that they're proud to be gay, I should be allowed to be proud that I'm straight.
Okay.
The reason why there is such a thing as gay pride is because homosexuals needed the empowerment. They needed to feel that it was okay to be gay. And I said to him, would you feel uncomfortable if I started banging on about being proud of the fact that I'm white, when we live in a society, in a country where white is the norm, is the majority, and white people have never, to my knowledge, been oppressed in this country.
All right. Okay.
Go on, here we go. We've got something we can disagree on.
Well,
White pride would make you feel uncomfortable, no?
the whole concept of pride makes me feel uncomfortable. If it's not from your own actions.
Okay. Yes.
The whole thing. I think it's. I don't have the right words. I need to get myself a thesaurus, man.
Okay.
Like, there needs to be a good adjective here. I really don't like it.
Okay. But
Drop it. Like,
isn't IC3's pride in his blackness more acceptable to you than if I started becoming a white pride worldwide.
I think all of it's ridiculous.
And equally so.
Yes,
Isn't there a place for liberation and oppressed groups expressing themselves?
It's a different topic.
Okay.
Like being right, presuming we were born like this, we didn't choose this.
Okay.
If it's something you haven't done, you cannot be proud of it.
Okay.
The purpose of asserting pride is to assert dominance, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
If you're like, we're oppressed and then we're dominant of that, okay, I can see the opposing forces.
If we change the word, or we got your thesaurus out, is there another word that would make you accept identitarianism?
Absolutely not. I reject identitarianism by principle.
Across the
on
board.
principle.
Okay.
Absolutely. I think it is the most divisive feature that we've got, and it's a descendant of tribalism. And the sooner we get rid of it, the better.
Okay.
That's my stance. I can defend it. What do you think?
You proud to be a woman?
Oh God! Don't go down there.
Tell him. Give him something to.
Yes, I am.
Yeah. There you go. Proud woman.
I need to start reading. Oh, okay. Anyway. Tell me.
Agree, disagree? Whatever it is, shout it into the mic.
Yeah, I do. I think in terms of there are certain people that are oppressed and are shut down, and prejudices are everywhere. So
Microaggressions. Sorry.
Oh God, please. Too many questions on the table.
Sorry.
So for people to stand up for who they are, I think there needs to be an arena to do that. There needs to be a space to do that. You can't kind of...
He's going to explain.
Okay, just breathe. No, I'm just joking. Come on.
I don't know you that well, so I don't know.
No, I'm alright.
Yeah, there is I feel like people have a right to be able to express themselves in
So do
that
I.
sense, and not like, oh, we're all the same. We're not all the same.
Okay.
We're the same, but we're not.
Right. So, from my understanding and my view is that we are the same in terms of inherent value as living creatures.
Right.
And that for me is the only sensical basis, and I can defend it if anyone wants to say why, only sensical basis of how you're going to develop a value structure. If not, you're going to go down paths that I don't personally agree with, such as slavery, such as genocide, right? So you either value each individual as a human being, having intrinsic value, and you could extend that to other life forms, but let's say humans, right? And you go from there. Why put this, well, I was born here and I happen to have this color of pigment, therefore I am responsible for this line of things and I can't say this or that? What kind of nonsense are we doing? That's my perspective. And then again, just to make it clearer, if I do something that was difficult for me and I overcome a challenge, I can feel proud of that. For example, if you tutor a student that's having a hard time and they progress because of your action and their struggle, their development, you can feel proud of that. You did it. You're born a certain way. You're proud of it. You want to tell the world you're proud of it. Is that your real motivation? That's my question. Is it your real motivation? Is it a power dominance assertion? Probably. Is it about your self-esteem? Possibly.
Yes, if all your life you've been told you should be ashamed of something, to bring it back to square one of the neutral position with it's okay to be black or it's okay to be gay, I guess you need to swing that pendulum the other way, saying, you know what, I am proud to be a gay man. Okay,
interesting point is that maybe that type of movement was necessary to rebalance us or bring to a neutral position. That's possible that was the case. Okay. Like I'm still static on my position of this whole pride thing being a ridiculous concept. Okay. No, doesn't mean that stopping people from being oppressed. That's an entirely different thing. That's where I am.
Okay.
I can see that.
No, but then it's language, because I understand what you're saying and I can somewhat agree with it. But for example, I guess bringing it back to racism, like, for example, black people have been oppressed for so many years that, you know, a lot of my friends and a lot of black people on social media are saying, I'm proud to be black, I'm proud to be, you know, a black woman, a strong black woman. And I feel like they have every right to say that because they've been oppressed for so long and been, you know, ignored and know you're nothing, and they're still having to fight, and you're still having, and there's still so many people out there who will try and put people down because of their race, their color, their religion, their
On all
sexuality.
sides.
So it's like, actually, if you're not, it's important to recognize it, and I think it's important to actually be proud of something that someone is going to be oppressing or has a prejudice against.
Okay, let me respond in like this. I agree on all sides. And if we're going to maintain it to be sensible, is that all humans are capable of prejudice and racism. All humans do both of those things. Therefore, I think all of it's wrong, and none of them should be privileged.
Which would be an ideal world, but we don't live in an ideal world like that. Like, if everyone had that stance, then there wouldn't be prejudice and there wouldn't be racism.
I don't think you can eliminate it, no. But what I'm trying to say is that, for example, a black person can be equally racist as a white person. I hope we can start
Can they,
there.
in a majority white country, where the majority of police are white, where the majority of MPs are white, majority of teachers or all authority figures are white,
Okay.
can a person from that minority will their racism have the equal knock-on effect, the equal gravitas?
Okay, right. It's a good point. If you have a consensus of racism within seats of power that put it down the chain of whatever, the chain of hierarchy, and it has a strong effect on the bottom or something, of course, I agree with you, but what I'm trying to say also is that I need it to be acknowledged that humans have the same flaws. If somebody's wanting to go down the argument of my racial group does not have these flaws, you're not living in the same world. I can demonstrate the opposite.
Yeah, I think it's dangerous when people say, black people can't be racist, only white people can be racist, and this new definition of racism as being prejudice plus power. Let's not rewrite the dictionary. Racism is racism, but I can understand how institutionalized racism would be more dangerous than a black man on his own hating all the white people around him.
I can agree with that.
When you have a police force, the Met, for example, that admitted it had a problem with institutionalized
Counterpoint.
racism.
I know, I agree.
Yeah.
But counterpoint. Rotherham.
Yeah.
Racism stopping action. It's fear of being called racist.
Yeah.
That's what I heard was the situation.
Okay.
You know?
Do you know where
Say
it's getting
that
at?
again.
So,
I've heard that the situation was that the police were scared of taking action against this because they were scared of being branded as racists.
when the grooming gangs.
That's just
Yeah, no. So I've
Rotherham.
actually heard something different.
Go on.
Was it Rotherham or Rochdale? I can't remember which one it was now. So I've actually been to a conference with one of the survivors, and she was saying. So forgive me, I can't, if it was Rotherham or Rochdale, but it was a case of actually the police very much obviously knew what was going on, and they were being bribed to keep quiet by the groomers. So
I see.
So they were getting a little.
I imagine that occurs, which is reprehensible, highly.
Yeah. That
So
is. Okay.
So it's a different slant on what you've just said in regards of.
okay, sure. I mean, of course, I don't know what's happening.
We don't, right?
I could say some.
And if that were the case, it would then be, it would suit somebody to say, oh, it was political correctness that prevented it, rather than Bible. They're both wrong either way, whatever the truth is.
Let me suggest something also. I imagine both situations are the truth.
Yeah, the truth often lies in the middle.
But let me say why. We talked about this thing here.
Yep.
And then I could regale you with stories of people making comments and being fired from their jobs, being hounded and chased and harassed and lambasted for making something that could be misconstrued as a racist statement, right? And then you've got the racial tensions within this country, or the religious tensions within this country, which are evident. They're really evident. I mean, they're actual, something's going on, right? And it's not anything special. I mean, it's just opposing groups living in the same place. Wow, okay, conflict, cool. But because of that, with maybe the Muslim groups and the sensitivity towards that, the police being afraid to make an action on that, for me, that could occur.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if it never did. And I think this is part of the recovery from racism and that pendulism that pendulum that swings one way and swings back the other,
Right.
and we go from it being acceptable to be openly racist, to it being absolutely unacceptable to even mistakenly look like you might be racist,
Right.
and this sort of paranoia, and I think it's often from people who secretly are racist, who want to hide the fact and overcompensate for it. in
It could
doing
be,
so.
but it could also just be because it's the going thing at the time. Like in I don't know, the American South back in the slavery times, I imagine it was extremely rare to find somebody who didn't endorse it.
Yeah.
Not to say that there were, we know them, but it was the going thing at the time, and now it's the going thing at the time to say it's terrible. But maybe in the future again it will reverse. So I'm questioning people's morality, whether they're actually virtuous. To be virtuous, to demonstrate virtue, you need to be in a situation where of course you can demonstrate virtue when it's positive, but if you don't have anything hostile, how can you demonstrate it? How could you show that it's actually what you believe unless you have nothing at risk? Unless you have something at risk. This is what Nietzsche talked about, man.
Is this, what would you do if you thought you could get away with it?
Kind of. And also, morality, virtue, as cowardice. It's like, I'm too much of a good person, I would never do that. But you actually like, yeah, I hate you, I want to kill you, but I'm too much of a coward to do it.
Yeah.
It's this idea, this philosophical idea, so I think we don't address that enough. You look disgusted.
No, not at all.